Let's do
I
it.
am fired up. So let's talk about this. We're going to obviously celebrate and cherish the magnificent, powerful results and data we were able to collect from 2 surveys. Mind-boggling. So the first survey was simply to check, knock the door. Hello? Anybody home? Check the pulse. Quantify. See how many people. The quantity of our crowd, the people who still have the interest, all of that. And the result was mind-boggling. So we were so excited about that result, the first survey, and we knew that hundreds of thousands are still interested in this journey and super excited, and they're actually willing to stick around no matter what time it takes. Second survey, we said, okay, we got a big number here, but are they all qualified to move forward to the next thing? We're not repeating the old. We're going up, only getting better, right? Okay?
So what if your income wasn't tied to the hours you actually work? It's a pretty wild thought, right? Well, that's the core promise of OnPassive. And today, we're going to unpack their vision for founder prosperity. We're going to explore these ideas of automated wealth, shared success, and the kind of lifestyle they claim is possible. Let's dive right in. This question right here, this is at the absolute heart of OnPassive vision. The whole idea that technology can build your wealth for you sleeping, it's not just a catchy marketing line. It's really meant to be a direct challenge to the traditional 9-to-5 grind we're also. So how do they say they're going to make reality? All right, so what is the big idea here? What's the why behind this whole system? The source material makes it really clear that this isn't just supposed to be another tech company. No, it's aiming for something much, much bigger, something they see as totally transformative. This quote from the Baraha, it really sets the tone for everything. It's not about creating people who are already successful. The mission, as framed here, is to give everyday, ordinary people a way to find extraordinary opportunities. Now that is a bold claim, and it's the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. And you know, when they talk about financial freedom, it's not just about having a pile of money. It's about having choices. It's the freedom to decide how you spend your time, who you spend it with, to travel, to give back, all without that constant nagging stress about money. That's a really powerful idea, and it's okay, so dream. But how is this vision of freedom supposed to actually be achieved? Well, the answer, according to the source material, is all about technology. This is where we get into what they call the automation engine, which is basically the core of the entire system. The idea at its core is actually pretty simple. Let the technology do all the heavy lifting, artificial intelligence and automation. These are the engines that are working for you 24/7. So you don't have to be chained to a desk. It's all about breaking free from that traditional work model. And this slide really lays out the fundamental shift they're proposing. On one side, you've got the old way. You trade your time, your hours, for dollars. On the other side, you've got this model where systems are working for you, even when you're not. It's a really powerful contrast when you see it laid out like that. So what does this actually mean for your day-to-day life? I mean, just imagine this for a second. Wake up in the morning, you check your phone, and you see that your business actually grew, and you earned commissions overnight while you were asleep. That's the kind of massive lifestyle shift they're promising with this automation. But get this, it's not just about the technology. The second pillar of this whole vision is all about community. They call it a shared prosperity model, and it's a huge all supposed to work together. Now this is where things get really interesting. Instead of creating this dog-eat-dog competitive environment, founders are framed as partners, all part of a single ecosystem. The whole idea is collaboration over competition. It's not about fighting for a bigger piece of the pie. It's about making the whole pie bigger for everyone. And that brings us to this key concept they call spillover. The idea here is that one person's success can literally spill over and benefit other people in the network. So as the whole community grows, everyone rises together. It's kind of like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. It's just a very different approach to business growth. Okay, so we've got the automation and we've got the community. But what does all of this actually lead to? What are the tangible results for the founders? This is where we get into the goal of it all: freedom, both financial and personal. And to make this a little more concrete, the source material points to several potential income streams. We're talking about commissions from something called an O-wallet, earnings from a platform called O-Connect, and even growth from an O-shop. It's this whole ecosystem that's designed to create multiple streams of passive income. So yeah, this is the big financial shift they describe, moving away from a single monthly paycheck to having multiple streams of income that are passive. That's a complete change in how you think about and structure your financial life. But again, it's not just about the money. And this is a huge point. According to the source, the real prize here is time freedom, the ability to control your own time. That's framed as the most valuable currency there is, more than money, more than anything. And that's a pretty powerful statement about what truly matters. And the vision doesn't just stop with you, the individual. The final piece of this puzzle is what they call the ripple effect. It's this idea that one person's success can spread outwards, creating positive change for their family, their community, and maybe even the world. It's a really powerful think about it. It all starts with one person, one founder, achieving financial stability. Then, that stability flows to their family, right? Bills get paid, stress goes down. From there, it expands to the community, because now that person is in a position to give back, to be a role model. And finally, it connects them to this global family of other successful founders. And this brings the whole thing full circle, doesn't it? It comes back to this core idea that true happiness isn't measured by the size of your bank account. It's measured by what that money allows you to do, to give back, to support the people you love, and to build a future that feels truly secure. We'll end on this final quote from the source, and it's an incredibly confident one. The good times are not coming. They are already arriving. It's a bold declaration, isn't it? It shifts the whole promise from some far-off future possibility to a present reality. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. What does it take to truly believe that the future you're hoping for is already here?
All right, let's get right into it. Today we are taking a close look at the financial side of a system called OnPassive. We're going to explore the pretty incredible financial promises it makes, and then we'll peel back the layers to see the core assumptions that everything is. So here's the big question right out of the gate. Could you really make over $300,000 a month from an online system? You know, it's a huge claim, but some of the promotional stuff out there suggests that numbers like this are actually achievable. So the question is how? How's that supposed to work? Let's dig into the mechanics. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the promise. What are the core financial benefits that are pitched to potential members, the people they call founders or affiliates? This is all about the what. What are they telling people they can actually get out of this? At the heart of this whole thing is a concept called residual income. Now, the idea itself is really powerful. It means you don't just get paid one time when someone joins your network. Instead, you keep earning, month after month, for as long as the people in your network stay subscribed and active. It's that recurring. But the promise actually goes a step further than just commissions from your own network. There's this idea that early members, the so-called founders, get to be sharers in the company's overall profits. So you're not just earning from your team, you're potentially getting a piece of the whole pie through special bonuses. So that's the promise. But how does the engine actually run? Let's pop the hood and look at the real mechanics here. Specifically, the structure they use to build these networks and, in theory, generate all that income. It all revolves around something called a 3x10 forced matrix. So what on earth does that mean? Well, it's pretty simple. You can only have 3 people directly underneath you on your first level. Once that's full, any new people have to go downwards, filling out the levels below. But here's the really interesting part. A feature they call spillover. This means new members recruited by people above you can literally spill down and land in empty spots in your network. And if that happens, you could potentially earn from people you never even recruited yourself. And that leads to a point that's really emphasized: timing. The whole idea is that if you join early, you get a better spot in this massive structure. A higher position means, in theory, a much better chance of catching that spillover from the people above you. The message is pretty clear. Getting in early could be a huge deal. Okay, so we've got the structure. But what does that mean for your bank account? What kind of money are we actually talking about here? Well, this is wild. Let's look at some of the projections that have been passed around. So, check this out. Here's a projection called Favorable Assumptions. The potential max income for a founder is projected at over $323,000. And let me be clear, that's not a year, that's per month. That is a life-changing amount of money, no matter how you slice it. And this isn't just a one-off. Here's another scenario, this time for Morocco. Even here, under a high adoption model, the projection still tops $86,000 a month. So you can see why this gets people's attention. These are consistently massive, headline-grabbing figures. But, and you knew there was about coming, right? These numbers aren't set in stone, not even close. You have to understand that they are completely dependent on how many people actually join. Take that Kenya example again. If you only get 10% projected market to sign up, that income drops from over 300 grand down to about $32,000. Now that's still a lot of money for sure, but it's a completely different reality. Seeing numbers like that, big or small, makes you ask the obvious question, right? What has to happen for any of this to become real? What's the fine print? What is the entire system fundamentally counting on to make these projections work? So, let's flip the coin. Let's look at the other side of the equation. Because for every single one of those amazing promises, there is a core underlying assumption that absolutely has to come true for any of it to happen. Let's break those down. And this slide right here perfectly captures that tension. Every big claim is sitting on top of a big assumption. You want to earn from a massive network? Well, that assumes a constant flow of new recruits, and, just as important, that those people keep paying their fees every month. You're excited about getting free access to AI tools? That's banking on those tools not only being delivered, but being good enough that people actually want to use them. And what about that spillover? Well, that only works if the network above you is growing like crazy. Otherwise, there's nobody to spill down to you. So beyond those internal assumptions, there are also some external risks, things that have been pointed out by outside reviews and analyses. To really get the full picture, we have to look at these as well. And these are some serious points to consider. We're talking about things like, are the products actually viable? Many of them haven't even fully launched yet. There's the huge dependency on recruitment. If that ever slows down, incomes could drop off a cliff. Then you have potential regulatory issues from groups like the SEC. And of course, there's always the risk that we just change the rules of the game, the compensation planet. So here's maybe the most important takeaway of all. Those huge, eye-popping numbers you see in the market, they are almost always theoretical maximums. They are the absolute best case scenario if every single thing goes perfectly right. They are not what a typical or even an average member should expect to earn. And that leaves us right here. On one hand, you have these projections of potentially massive rewards. On the other, you have a pretty long list of crucial dependencies and very real risks. The ultimate question isn't just, can it work? It's about how you weigh that incredible promise against the underlying premise. All right, so today we're cracking open an internal document from a tech company called OnPassive. We're going to break down this core concept they have. They call it founder commissioning. And really, it's all about the process they claim will turn their earliest supporters, their true believers, into the main beneficiaries of their whole ecosystem. So, the document we're digging into today, it opens with this really bold promise. No one will be left behind. And get this, they frame it as way more than just a tagline. It's supposed to be the foundational principle for their entire system, a guarantee that every single early member is set up to succeed. So, okay, let's see how they actually plan to pull that off. So, that brings us to the big question. What is founder commissioning? I mean, this phrase is right at the heart of the model, and according to their own document, it's a turning point for every single person who got in on the ground floor. Okay, first up, we have the founder's promise, from early adopter to crowned customer. The source material is really clear on this. They don't see this as just some small step. No, they describe it as a complete transformation. It's the exact moment when an early adopter officially becomes what they call a crowned customer. And this really gets to the core of what they're saying. The document argues that this whole commissioning thing isn't just about starting a new phase. It's about fulfilling the original promise made to those pioneer members. It's positioned as that one moment where the big vision finally becomes a real, tangible thing for the people who believed from day one. So, what is commissioning? The subtitle here says it's the activation of responsibility and privilege. The document really hammers this point home. This is not just some symbolic ceremony. They describe it as an activation, a specific moment that unlocks both new privileges and, interestingly, new responsibilities for the founders. Okay, so the document gives us this very specific official definition. It calls commissioning an activation process that recognizes founder loyalty, unlocks ecosystem privileges, establishes a verified identity, and seals their lifelong position. What's really interesting here is how it's framed kind of like a bridge, right? It's the process that moves a founder from that early, we're building this phase into the live operational company, and it seals their position for good. And they break the whole process down into these 4 distinct aspects. You've got recognizing loyalty, unlocking privileges, establishing identity, and sealing ownership. So yeah, it's about rewarding loyalty and giving out perks, but it's also about something way more concrete, like verifying who you are and locking in your spot in the ecosystem permanently. All right, so let's talk about the most valued customer. This is the new status at the center of the business model. So once you go through this commissioning, your status officially changes. The document actually uses the word crowned. You're crowned a most valued customer, or MVC for short. So the obvious question is, what does being an MVC actually get you? Well, according to this, the MVC advantage is pretty significant. You get priority access to new products, you benefit from profit-sharing models, you enjoy exclusive financial privileges, and you're on as pillars of the company's legacy. So it's not just about getting to use stuff first. It's pointing to some really concrete financial benefits, like profit sharing. The core idea seems to be that MVCs aren't just users on a platform. They're meant to be the main people who benefit from the success. Okay, so how is all this supposed to work? I mean, how does the system actually deliver on these big financial promises? Well, this next section is called the Financial Freedom Engine, the technology behind the promise. The source describes this dedicated tech system built specifically to create recurring income for these MVCs. And the document defines financial freedom in a very, very specific way. It's not about some hustle culture where you have to constantly sell or recruit people. Instead, the promise is all about recurring earnings that come from AI systems. And the value is meant to compound automatically as the entire ecosystem gets bigger. Now, the absolute core of this whole financial engine is something the company calls the digital equity loop. This seems to be the key mechanism they've designed to make sure that the value created by the platform keeps flowing back to those original founders. So, how does this loop work in practice? The document points to these specific components. You've got the O-Wallet, which is like the financial hub for everything, and O-Verify for security. But the really critical parts seem to be this AI matching system, which supposedly distributes commissions fairly, and the fact that all income is tied to actual product usage across the ecosystem, not to recruiting. And to try and make this all feel more real, the document shares a few user stories. The first one highlights a founder in Ghana who is now earning steady commissions from a global customer base. The implication: this provides a real path out of financial hardship. The next example shifts the focus over to community impact. It describes a founder in India who is reportedly using their earnings from the wallet to fund local charities. This really points to a bigger vision of social good that's enabled by the system. And the final story they share points toward a major lifestyle goal. It describes a founder in Canada who they say retired early before supposedly covering all their expenses, just effortlessly. Taken together, these stories are meant to paint a pretty picture of the intended outcome. Now, beyond all the mechanics, the document argues that this whole thing requires a new business mindset. It actually calls for a reset, a deliberate shift away from how we usually think about traditional online businesses. And this slide really lays it all out. It's a direct comparison of what they call traditional models versus the on-passive model. I mean, look at this. They say traditional models see users as numbers, rely on hustlers, and value flows to the top. But in their model, customers are at the heart, they foster ambassadors, and value flows back to the community. It's a very clear attempt to draw a line in the sand and say, we are not like that. And the document kind of brings everything together by summarizing the entire commissioning journey with these 3 powerful words: rise, reset, and refocus. It's presented as this final culmination, a celebration of loyalty, a shift to a new mindset, and then an alignment with a purpose that's bigger than just making money. So, when you look at the whole picture, this document really presents the commissioning process as that final bridge, the connection between a big, long-held vision and the actual real-world launch. It's their detailed blueprint for what they claim is a totally new path to financial freedom. And that, of course, leaves us with the biggest question of all, one this document can't answer. What does this path actually look like in practice?
We're gonna shake the internet. Are you ready?
Let's do
I
it.
am fired up. So let's talk about this. We're gonna obviously celebrate and cherish the magnificent, powerful results and data we were able to collect from 2 surveys. Mind-boggling. So the first survey, simply to check, knock the door, hello, anybody home? Check the pulse, quantify, see how many people, the quantity of crowd, the people who still have the interest, all of that. And the result was mind-boggling. So we were so excited about that, the first survey, and we knew that hundreds of thousands are still in this journey and super excited, and they're actually willing to stick around no matter what. Second survey, we said, okay, we got a big number here, but are they all qualified to move forward to the next thing? We're going up. It's only getting better, right? Okay?
So what if your income wasn't tied to the hours you actually work? It's a pretty wild thought, right? Well, that's the core promise